Time for another Smoking Den. This is Smokey Dan playing the air guitar, the only guitar I know how to play. But today we have something incredibly special for you. It's the War of the Worlds. We are pitting the Punch in the green corner against the Punch in the silver corner. What's the difference? This is a Punch Royal Coronation Petite Corona from Honduras. This is a Punch Coronation Petite Corona from Cuba. Yes, I just got in some genuine Cubans today, so I figured let's see how they stack up. And I can guarantee you this is a real Cuban, not a counterfeit. I was a little skeptical at first, so I went on Cigar Aficionado's website. They've got this whole counterfeit gallery going on. Went on a few other websites, did my due diligence. It's real, and it's going to be smoked tonight and compared to Punch's offering in Honduras, owned by General. The Cuban is a what is it here? It's a 42-inch ring gauge, and it's about 5 inches long. It has that distinct Cuban smell. It's a beautiful, slightly oily wrapper. Just a little bit veiny. And before we light it up, because I'm going to show you the best way to do a head-to-head comparison, and it is not smoking one and then smoking the others. You light them both up at once, take a puff off the one, take a puff off the other, and what that does is give you an immediate sense of what each cigar is doing, and it gives you the best possible compare and contrast. This is a slightly larger 44-inch ring gauge, and also about 5 inches long, maybe a touch more. This has some age on it. If you can look at all that white bloom on it. It's been napping for a long time at the tobacconist, so hopefully this will make an even fair comparison. So without further ado, let's snip the Honduran up, and let's snip up the Cuban. One thing for you Cuban aficionados to note is that the Cuban has a green tube. The Cubans used to use a silver tube like the Hondurans, but they switched over to the green tube in 2009. So I can't decide which to smoke first, so I'm going to spark the Cuban up. It's interesting to note that the first Cuban cigar, I should say, that I ever smoked was, in fact, a Cuban Punch Coronation on my 21st birthday, which seems like forever ago, with a beautiful 24-year-old Glenlivet single malt. Magical experience. Oh, it's Cuban. It's been, I think, probably about 4 years since I've had a Cuban. Cedar and cocoa with a super leathery finish. The flavors are just, they've got depth, they've got nuance. A nuance to the tea. It's almost like a fourth dimension on the smoke. Medium to slightly medium full-bodied. It's not all Cubans are complete ass kickers, but I think this one won't be. But with further ado, let's let that rest for a minute and light up the Honduran. Chocolate nuts on this one. It's not as nuanced quite as the as the Cuban. It's a bit more straightforward, but it's delicious. This is more mild to medium. I'm closer to the medium spectrum on that. Mostly a toasted nut flavor profile with a very short finish. Now back to the Cuban. The leather is just coming in and coating the back palate. They're both actually very, very good, but the Cuban does have that extra edge so far in nuance. Obviously, got a lot left to smoke on these two, so we'll be back in a couple seconds to the YouTube screen with the verdict. And we're back for the verdict on the War of the Worlds, the Punch versus the Punch. And let's start off with the Honduran. I forgot to mention in the beginning the quality construction of the Honduran is excellent. Beautiful, oily, slightly dark, natural wrapper. Beautiful sheen. Very little veinage going on. The ash, as you can see, Honduran has a beautiful white ash. The Cuban has the typical super gray Cuban ash. Instantly, that's another way of telling real Cuban. Cuban ash is always super gray, super dark gray. Both have had perfect burns, perfect draws. Honduran is wonderful. The only issue I had is the second third picked up sort of a flinty quality that's died away completely now. Beyond that, also into the second third and still continuing, is I've been getting some cedar flavors that have been eclipsing the nutty flavors I got in the beginning. Just an elegant, cedary, very dense cedar and nut flavor. With a little bit of leather, and just a slightly bitter aftertaste. It's very short though. If I was smoking this on its own, I would be in heaven. And it's a wonderful cigar. At $4.50. They're not at every cigar shop I find, but if you find them, pick one up. They're wonderful. I am going to save the rating for the very end. Uh-oh. I spent so long talking about the Honduran that the Cuban went to sleep on me, but that's my fault. About an inch into this, the cigar, in addition to all the other flavors, picked up a pretty large core of very delicate spice and a teeny bit of pepper coming in the back palate, and also a nice dose of vanilla coming in the front palate. Both flavor profiles have stuck with the what I described in the beginning, and right now it's this band doesn't want to come off. Oh, yes, it does. This is a magical Cuban. Everything that if you've never had a Cuban and you've heard of all the mystique, this is a cigar that lives up to the mystique. Nuts, the leather, the spice, the vanilla, everything just mingles. I think there are some flavors that I'm not even describing that I can't even quite get, but I know that they're there. It's a truly amazing experience. Wow, what a fantastic stogie. Ten out of 10 on the Cuban. Has a little bit of woodsiness, a little bit of nuts, that touch of bitter leather in the end. It's far more one-dimensional than the Cuban, but in no way is it one-dimensional. It's a three-dimensional cigar to a four-dimensional super special cigar. I'm actually going to give this an 8 out of 10. And while it's a loser, in no way is it a loser. That's kind of like asking who I'd pick to win a beauty contest, Emma Stone or Jessica Simpson. Emma Stone's kind of my dream girl, but Jessica Simpson is still stunning. And there you have it. The War of the Worlds. Punch has made 2 excellent cigars here. Try them both if you can. And if you can't, at least go out and try the Honduras. And like I said, around $4.50, which is what I paid. It's very reasonable for what you're getting. If this is your first time to the channel, please subscribe. We have more great videos coming your way, including more War of the Worlds. Feel free to leave a comment. I'm always happy to hear from you. Until next time, keep smoking whatever you're smoking, and I'm going to be puffing on one of these. Oh God, that's good.